Hey everybody, welcome, welcome. My name is Sharon Florentine. I am the editorial director here at Cyber Risk Alliance Channel Brands, which includes MSSP Alert. And I am super excited to be here today for this webcast. Today we're going to be talking about how AI can help you and your SOC run lean and mean. And I am joined by three of my favorite people, Raffaele, Liam, and Mike. And we're going to talk about this in depth. We really want you to send your questions in for us so we can work those into the conversation, get them answered for you. We're going to talk about how AI is used in the SOC, how you can integrate AI into your SOC, some emerging threats that AI is driving, and also on the flip side, how you can use AI to fortify your defenses against those threats. And most importantly, how AI in your SOC can drive business growth. So before we get started, just a couple housekeeping items. This session is being recorded, so if you miss it, you can go back, watch it again, share it with folks. And please, as I said, send your questions in using the Q&A button there on your console. We will try to get to as many as we possibly can. With that, I'm going to start by asking my friends here to introduce themselves and give a short little intro to who they are, what they do, and Liam, let's start with you.
Oh, save the best the best to first, right? Instead of last. All right. So my name is Liam Downward. I am the co-founder of Cyrisma, and also the chief product officer. We integrate into SOCs with different type of MDR, XDR that has AI and takes advantage of our telemetry.
Cool. All right, Mike, you want to go next?
Sure, thanks. Mike Saylor, 30-year IT cyber veteran, professor, author, inventor, currently the CEO for Black Swan Cybersecurity. Part of what we do is 24/7. We have a fusion center based out of Dallas. So for that managed monitor detect capability.
Cool. And last but certainly not least, Raffaele, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Raffaele Mautone, CEO and founder of Judy Security. We actually built software, including Judy, which is AI, that is a all-in-one solution that allows for partners and small and medium-sized businesses to have the solution that they need. And we also have MDR and SOC services wrapped around that.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so my first question is possibly a silly one, but I want to know if any of you are encountering any hesitancy around AI right now. Specifically, are any of your customers or other partners pushing back at all around the need to integrate AI? Is there a data security questions, or is it pretty much like pedal to the metal, let's go, we need this, what are we waiting for? Like I said, it may be a silly question.
Happy to start. There's a lot of different perspectives around that question. There's the service-oriented interest. So how is your service incorporating AI to help us as a client? Then there's the client consumption of AI, and there are concerns around that because it's, how do we govern AI in the workplace? And then there's the worker bees on the back to the service side, like in our fusion center, our red and blue teams, and how can AI help them or reduce level of effort or number of resources. And so there's both excitement and concern there too. So a couple of different perspectives, I think, can answer that question. But specifically in the Fusion Center, we're excited about AI because it is a workforce multiplier, especially on the reporting and analysis side. But then the clients are becoming more and more interested in AI and how it's being utilized in the service that we're providing to them. So we get a ton of questions about that. And then I think what will be interesting to hear from the other two here is on the product side, how are we looking towards implementing AI and its capabilities in new products that either support a service provider or directly to the client.
Gotcha.
Well, I can answer from a Cyrisma perspective. We get it on both sides. One is we get it from how is it going to help me to be more efficient? Is it going to be more automation? Is it going to make it easier for me to be able to identify a risk and mitigate it very quickly, right? Even from down to that, right down to a managed service provider, an MSP, looking towards technology and AI to help them to be more efficient because they want the Kaizen, do more with less, right? So they're constantly asking, saying, you talked about before, analysis and reporting. We can get to that from an AI perspective, but then it's the next step of, can they make that determination of making the right choice and answer? How do we get to that point with AI and making that decision for them? And that's when, like XDR and MDR, which I think is a nice little segue into Raffaele and with Judy, and what they're doing is to kind of help on what they're doing from an actual next SOC level, doing things that they're doing with taking telemetry and making best decisions. So we see it from our product and what they're asking of us, and then what they're passing it through to the next stage, which is a good segue into what Raffaele would say when it comes to AI.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. I think, partners and customers understand that there's a need for AI when it comes to the SOC teams, right? We know there's a shortage. There is, whether that's true or not, there is, and I am of the mindset it's a different item, but there is a shortage. They want to be able to validate that the volume coming in can be managed, right? And AI does do that, but it doesn't replace people. I tell that all the time. There will still be SOC team members involved, but what it does is the AI can normalize the data, can look at everything and go, that's repetitive and that's a false positive. So I'm not going to put these 10,000 alerts in front of you, SOC specialists. I'm going to put the P1s, right? Here's the ones that I know that I've even looked through, normalized, and you should look at immediately, right? So I see it as helping security teams right now, especially with a lot of the tool sets that we're all using. I think where you see concern is where it's being introduced on the business side. And what I mean by that is, okay, where is that marketing person typing in some of your information to get an answer? Where could a IT person want to help build a PowerPoint and put a blueprint of your network, right? Where's that data going is really the question we all have to ask ourselves. So I think we know security teams, the data is staying with us, right? It's being consumed, it's being normalized, and it stays with us. But I think the bigger concern is the business side, because sometimes the tool sets that security teams have validated and approved are now turning on AI without us involved. CRM, ERP, payroll systems, chat. I mean, we've even seen Google now go, hey, we turned on AI across all of your documents and everything, right? Now you can turn them off, but what I'm getting at is it's a new, we used to call it, IT, the IT teams would always say the business went out and did something, right? It's like they're not even doing it and AI is being turned on. So that's where we see the bigger concern is on that side of the business, with a lot of the things that can build presentations, especially, or documents or writing, because you really don't know where that data is going.
Right. It's the BYOD plus shadow IT.
Shadow IT. I blanked out as CIO, or past CIO. Sorry, shadow IT.
Yeah. Yeah. So those considerations aside, how are you all using AI right now in a SOC situation? And then if someone wanted to maybe take it to the next level, if they're not using AI, how would they go about integrating it? And I'm sure the answer is going to be different from each of your company's perspectives based on what you do and how you do that. So hopefully that wasn't a
Yeah, let me kind of put it from our perspective,
Okay.
Cyrisma itself, right? So when we're working with a SOC as a service company, a MDR, XDR type of environment that actually has AI, we actually are able to send more telemetry to them. For us, we do, like you mentioned before, Raphael, about the data itself, right? Imagine a system that you're monitoring for vulnerability, but also to say what type of sensitive data does that actual system have, right? Does it have credit cards or PII or anything of that nature on there? So it heightens the risk of that asset. We're able to pass that type of information to an MDR, XDR, that actually then they can actually normalize that data, put it into their algorithm by actually saying, hey, there's an actual attack happening. We're able to see that. It does have a vulnerability, but oh, by the way, it actually does have this type of sensitive data. We're going to elevate that risk. And if it has automation of kill chain or those type of things in place, AI can actually automatically do that sort of stuff because it already has a decision tree. But then we can also pass it off to the SOC analyst. So that's why we're able to kind of integrate into AI. We're also going to be incorporating some of the technology, direct AI stuff into ours to help even more enhancement around that, to give even more data and availability to the SOC as a service type of companies and so forth. So that's how we're looking at it from our perspective when we're integrating into SOC that has AI.
Okay.
And I agree with a lot of that as well. You want more context that gives you a better picture of potential problems and analysis of incidents and events. And so the more AI can analyze that context for you, but also filter the actual ingestion into your SIM or your other tools, the more efficient those are. But then so are more efficient your people become, especially your analysts. And so there are some tools out there that say, with the incorporation of AI and some of these other analytic models, you don't need a level one analyst anymore. It's everything that pops up on the screen is already been validated. It needs to be triaged or responded to by level 2 or above. And those are all amazing things. One of the things I'd like to add to Liam's comment is that AI can also help you normalize events by client as the AI learns that environment. And so in an anomalous or behavior related flag in one environment may not be a flag in the other because that's the type of business it is, or that's normal in that environment. So behavior analytics I think that's an older, machine learning, behavior analytics, heuristics, all those things are kind of, leading up to this more effective AI integration. But absolutely seeing the benefit of that pre-analysis or precognition almost of what ends up on the screen for SOC analysts and engineers to address.
So I think they both discussed OpenXDR and AI. I fully agree with everything they said. And I think your second question was if someone was going to go build AI. I think there's still misconceptions that you just turn it on and you're good to go with a lot of the different items out there. You have to have a source. So if you are going to build a security type AI, what is your source? And how is that scalable, either with costs or volume or anything else that needs to feed that AI to be able to be successful in whatever work streams? A lot of it still is machine learning. So, it's not all artificial intelligence. I think what's nice is that AI can take on the things that are repetitive and are proven not to be an issue, a risk, or security. And like, as it was mentioned, multi-tenant with AI is a game changer as well, because the rule set that might be tied to Sharon could be different than Liam, right? He does need to take the risk. He's the CTO. And so he's coding and he needs to go out further into the dark web, whereas Sharon, you're more on the business side. So your rule sets should be different, right? Than, engineering. So that's the beauty of the behavior learning as well. But I think everyone expects that when they hear AI, they're thinking of the movies, the Terminators. They're self-sufficient. They can just do whatever, and they're going to take over the world. There's still a lot of misconception around that. I think AI is doing a lot of good things, but yeah, you have to have a source if you're going to build something, and that's where it can be time consuming and very costly.
Yeah, I was going to add to that one, Raphael. It's kind of funny you say AI. I always tell people that you need HI before you need AI. That's human intelligence before AI, right? Because, like you said, the source can either be human or a data set, but it needs to have constant input. So it goes back to that '80s movie, like Short Circuit. Need more input, Stephanie, right? So that's how I
Yes.
look at AI being, right? So, but yeah.
That's an excellent point, and I'm I was hesitant to ask the question, but since Raphael, you brought it up first, I was going to ask about what kind of misconceptions there were as far as what can AI really do versus what folks think that it can do, and I think that's you made a great point. You can't just flip a switch and it goes in and scans all of your data and inputs unless you tell it what it needs to know and then how to act on that. So yeah, you definitely need the H before the AI can do what it needs to do.
You're fundamentally training another employee, but with
Mm-hmm.
information that
Hmm.
can be reused, right? So everyone always asks me, how did you claim you started AI back in 2018? It was machine learning. We have data scientists, so they were creating workflows and looking at different ways how Judy could help the front end users. That's where we started. Now the technology has caught up, but I think if you look at the history, I talk about the history of AI all the time. It started back in the '60s, so it's not as 1960s, so it's not as if it's brand new. It's just that the artificial intelligence piece is new, but it still relies on a source or training fundamentally to
Hmm.
really be powerful. And that usually takes data scientists, engineers, and even security specialists to modify it, train it, and then, yes, it will learn and make sure that it doesn't happen again or that it does happen again fundamentally as its core functions.
Yeah. So a question leading off of that, and so what happens to you were talking about, okay, so you're training a new employee, the AI comes in and it's functioning as basically that level one person. So what happens with the knowledge transfer then? Like if you have new grads who normally would come out of school and they take some of those level one positions and then start learning and then they, move up the career path. How does it work then if you're skipping that for an AI? I'm probably not making any sense, but it's
No,
always a question that I
you are, and I'd like to address it because one of the things we need to make sure AI doesn't do is make us as humans dumber.
mm,
And so we can't replace knowledge and skill with AI because we still need to understand how it works and at least for the near term be able to validate its results. So those level one analysts, they still need to be trained as level one analysts to understand the fundamentals. It's whether you actually get a level one job is irrelevant. You still need to learn what a level one does,
hmm
especially if if that's how you're using AI. You have to know that AI is your level one, and you have to know what it's doing so that when you get the results, you can validate them. And if you're a level two, then so on. But there are other, that's a great example, though. I mean, just like if you want AI to write your computer code, that doesn't mean you don't need to learn how to code. You're just
Hmm.
allowing it to do a lot of the work for you, of which you still need to validate. And that goes back to the human intelligence part, but also this fear that AI is going to replace the workforce. Um, it may lessen the requirement for more people as you grow, but the people that are there and this is another comment I make, as long as you embrace AI and understand how it works and how it can be incorporated into what you do, then you should be safe in your job. You're just going to be a rock star now instead of the one that's always, pushing deadlines and working 80 hours a week. But no, you still have to learn how to be a level one or whatever that AI is replacing or augmenting. So I don't think that's lost.
Okay.
Yeah, we work with 6 universities across the U.S., letting them leverage our software and be an extension of our security team to learn. The one thing I would agree with what was said is, if anything, AI is going back to the beginning and leveraging some of those things that we thought were already remediated or not possible and doing it again, but even better. So, as an example, I could call in as Sharon into a help desk and sound exactly like her by pulling your voice off a video. That's a potential way of social engineering to do a breach, right? And get a password reset for you. So a lot of the vulnerabilities that we haven't seen in the decade, like Trojan horse and everything else, they're going back to those and seeing how AI can, be pushed out. Because before, a hacker would have to do it manually. Now an
Mm-hmm.
AI programmed to do it in milliseconds, terabytes, right? And so I agree, you have to always have the foundation of everything we've all learned in security over the last 20 to 30 years, because it's always going to be a jigsaw puzzle. It's just, how can AI either complement you finding where that puzzle piece needs to be, or how can it complement and heighten that you find something that was done in the past and being done again, especially in social engineering. That's probably the biggest one right now, is video, voice, and how to impersonate people as a potential breach with AI.
That's
Mm-hmm.
that's fascinating. I guess I didn't really think about it as going backwards, because it kind of has to start from the beginning, right? And then you're reapplying it to things that I mean, I guess they're not solved problems, right? Wow.
No, a hacker's always going to find the easiest path forward, no matter when it was done. Doesn't matter if it
Yeah.
was done in the 1990s or if it was done a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why with the likes of AI being incorporated and even into programming now, right? They're even stating that the stats are coming out that if you embrace ChatGPT or Claude or all these different types of tools out there, you're increasing efficiency by 30% out of people because they're embracing it. Now you can imagine, let's on the flip side, look at the bad actors taking advantage of that. Raphael said before, you could take videos or take images. Even you've got now BDRs that are AI driven to do actual sales calls and interact with people. But all the same time, going back to different types of ransomware and viruses, they're now becoming more prevalent. They're using AI to help them to code better and actually do better things in doing that. And that's how AI is enhancing productivity. But you go back to the question at hand of what we're talking about is the SOC itself. Just imagine embracing AI even more is increasing efficiencies, even if you have enterprise organizations that have security teams. In enhancing AI using a SOC that has AI is just going to enhance their ability to be more efficient and producing additional 30% or more out of their teams to be able to identify red flags so they can go and remediate and mitigate, or allow for actions to be taken by the SOC because they'll be able to do that. So they can actually still be sleep at night, because most security people don't sleep, right? We're 24/7, right? We say we sleep, we really do. We sleep with one eye open, right? And one ear listening to the phone going buzzing every 5 seconds, right? Because of that. But we need to understand that AI is here. It's not a fad. It's like you go back when everybody said the internet's not going to last. It'll be done in a couple of years. And here we are, many years later. Same with AI. We're going to have to embrace it's going to be a part of cybersecurity as we move forward.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a really great question that came in from an audience member that I'm going to throw out to all of you. And the question is, are there any concerns about the tendency of AI or LLMs to hallucinate? Are we introducing another potential source of false negatives by having AI sort through events? And following on from that, have we reached a point where we can more reliably trust AI output?
Well, if I could first, absolutely hallucinations exist. And it depends on the model and what you're using it for and how you've taught it and the data it's got access to. But at least initially, in any new implementation of tech, there's a learning curve and a tuning and a tweaking. But also back to that, you can't 100% rely on any tool. AI is a tool, so you still have to have educated, skilled, capable people supervising that tool, using that tool. And I will say that even with the hallucinations, the efficiencies gained. So even if I know AI is going to lie to me, I'm still going to use it, because out of a million things a day, I used to only be able to get through half of that, as an example. Well, at least now AI can look at all 1 million, and I'm okay having to verify or go and spot check these the things that did bubble up from AI. I would rather do that than have a team get overburdened by alerts and volume. I would rather them focus on what's been filtered through AI to verify. But yeah, it does hallucinate. It still does today, and that's every implementation of AI I've seen so far has its flaws, and you still need the experience and the knowledge to know the difference between a false positive, false negative, hallucination, something that needs to be investigated more. And you can ask it for more context, like, where did you get that answer? It may still lie to you, but at least you're getting to it. But you're also training it. If it's hallucinating, ask it, to verify X, Y, or Z, or so that's the other part of the AI training that your staff or whoever's running these tools needs, is how do we make it better? If it is hallucinating, how do we address that? And I can't remember what the second part of that question was.
Let's see.
I think there's always going to be hallucinations. It means that it's still learning. It's kind of like when you get a new product on the marketplace, you're always going to find bugs. That's basically what it is. Now, where AI is used in cybersecurity, yes, we need to be cautious. I think what they were saying is, do you trust it? No, we're all taught in cybersecurity, zero trust of everything and everyone, no matter what it is, who it is, right? So even in the AI, you should have a zero trust. And like we've been saying, at least it can handle the big volumes of things that are repeatable. And if you see a hallucination there, okay, as a SOC analyst, it looks like it missed this vulnerability. It's because it probably changed from NIST, and maybe there was a .21 when originally it was a .20. Okay, great. I'm going to change the rule set, add the run book, move on, right? So it's still dependent on humans. But that second question of, can you trust AI? No, not in cybersecurity. We should not even trust each other. It's the whole zero trust model. If something looks fishy, sounds fishy, or your gut gets that little tingle, check it. And yes, hallucinations could be a path to a potential breach, because maybe they did change something. The AI missed it, and now we have to have our security team go research it, modify it, retrain it, and then hopefully it doesn't come up again.
Gotcha. Great. Okay, so here's another one, and this ties into kind of my own next question. So we'll tie these two together. Maybe I'll seem smarter. My question was about how AI is driving emerging threats, and I think this ties back to what we were talking about before, about how it's kind of going back and reusing some of these older threat vectors. But so the question from the audience was, is AI being used to automatically trigger playbooks? And that I don't know how to answer.
Liam, you want to go first? Mike and I have been doing all the talking.
Yeah,
Not to put you on the spot, but I feel bad. I'm like, why don't you go first, Liam?
Yeah, the answer would be, actually they are, right, because they are a company, their business. We'll take ransomware, for example, right? They in essence are creating playbooks with AI of what to do and how to transact, especially when things are calling back home. Whereas beforehand, it used to be, in the old days, it would be people behind the keyboard and sending it commands. It now wants to do it, and it wants to obfuscate itself. It wants to laterally move. It's looking and getting data back like a SOC would of information back of what it needs to do. So they are creating run books and playbooks behind the scenes of actually what to do to try and make sure that it doesn't get caught and speedily get that information in and out very quickly. But they're learning as they're going along and getting better each time they do an attack. But so ransomware is definitely is engaging with AI and rule books, and basically, hate to say this, going to universities and hiring data scientists. I'm trying to bring them in, and they're a corporate entity because they want to generate more revenue. And the only way that they see to next level revenue generation is one, social engineering is still a big play, but the other aspect of it is once somebody clicks on something, evaluating, are they just a home user or are they an actual corporate entity right away, and very quickly change which direction they go with that ransomware.
Yeah, it's a
I guess
whole business
all
model,
software
right?
companies, yeah, all software companies out there should have playbooks and run books available for their product, and that should feed into a SIM tool, right? At least
Mm-hmm.
the ones that are starting to move more into OpenXDR. Those playbooks and runbooks are associated to the vulnerability based on the vendor. That's a critical change in the industry, right?
Mm.
We can have us all write runbooks, which is still valid, but when you have a large company build the connectors, especially for SIM tools where the SOC teams are living, and those runbooks are normalized and automated and associated to the vulnerability of their product, that's the game changer because AI is running over it. You then get that, oh, this is a P1, then that SOC team member doesn't have to go look or Google the run book or the playbook. It's sitting right there. That saves time. That is what you want in a SOC team between AI, playbook, and the normalization, especially as the emerging technologies start going into OpenXDR.
And I'll add real quick. So especially with OpenXDR and some of the newer, and I say newer, this is probably the last couple of years, where security orchestration and automated response, that SOAR, has been integrated into that tool. So there's really good products that do SOAR on their own, and you kind of bolt those on into your tech stack. But I think some of the more recent, especially the OpenXDR platforms like Stellar and some of you guys have done really well at integrating the capability of analyzing the threat and giving some capability of automated response with intelligent automated response. And so I'll add to that though that I think the evolution of AI and these tools needs to or will incorporate the conversational capability where maybe the analyst or engineer or threat hunter sees something and now I can ask AI or converse with the AI in real time. So maybe the AI sees something, it's starting to do this, run this playbook response, but it's talking to us and we're able to talk to it about what it's seeing. Why did you do that? Who's involved? What, where's this coming from? What's the context? I think that's the next most powerful thing is and we've seen some kind of individual personal application of that with Grok as an example. Grok now has this conversational mode on X. It's going to be awesome when that capability is in a real time security operations center for that type of interaction.
Right. Okay. Another quick question from the audience here. What kind of low-hanging fruit do we see with AI? For example, being able to generate reports using the data and security findings that it pulls together, and then being able to format and lay that out in a way that matches the organization and fits their workflow. I mean, I don't know if that's so much of a question, but that sounds pretty freaking cool.
I think it goes back to what Raffaele and Liam were saying earlier too about the security and I'll say it too, governance of your AI tools. And in order to get your internal private AI tool to that level, it's going to take some investment, time, and hardware and learning. because I think what's being done today is people are pushing that out to these public AIs, not realizing that what they just put out there is potentially sensitive or even regulated. But absolutely, AI can do a great job with a data set and putting that in a formatted, consumable, report. And you can get very specific with your request. Who's your audience? How would you like to look? What graphics or charts and things would you like to see? It does an amazing job at that. I've seen it with vulnerability management. I've seen it with risk assessments and audits. But the environments where those where I was able to see those were private AI models that took some investment of time and money to build.
Yeah.
We're doing that today. So we can map all the data that is pulled in and actually generate executive reports as well as cybersecurity insurance reports, and then tied back to their compliance frameworks. So if their customers are CMMC, SOC 2, PCI, all of that data has to show up in a report, right? That's the beauty of OpenXDR with AI. And we do it with Judy's Blue Team is we consume the customer's information and then we build out those reports, and they are secure. They can only be downloaded by the actual customer, but it gives them that report that an IT team used to have to go out and download manually, and then it would probably be emailed. And there again, you have a potential breach because all your data is flying around via email, right? So I think there's a lot of amazing power of AI. And it goes back to what Mike was saying, though, it can't be bidirectional. So you don't want that data being collected to go back out somewhere else as a source. We don't. We keep it all in-house. But the reporting function can save partners and customers, especially with compliance being the conduit for a lot of things. So much time, money. And yes, AI is at the forefront with what's happening in OpenXDR. I'm sorry, Liam.
Yeah,
I
and
thought you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No, that's all good. It's gonna actually is gonna kind of just emphasize you from our perspective what you were saying, Raphael, and that is there's definitely two sides to the coin when it comes to reporting. It's like you said, you've got the security team at the client that you're providing the service to, but then also the end customer, and that's where the contextual actual prioritization can be different on both sides, but they all fundamentally go back to the same data sets, but it's how it's presented, and AI has a very good way of actually doing that on both mindsets, right? But the tactical element from the security team because they want to get down and dirty, whereas the other side of the client, I just need to know the bare bones and basics, but make it simple for me that I know these are my issues and you're going to take care of them. And then the other element is that within the app itself that you've developed, and even with the SOC, is the actual information right there in a dashboard that's easily driven by AI to allow you to see things fundamentally from time scales of where you were today, where you are now. What have I improved? What have I not done? What's my next prioritization? How should I remediate stuff? Even with a click of a button to say report this, and it takes that and then generates the report for both sides, that you can have two reports being delivered very quickly directly from that interface, and drive them back into the main app to review data if they want to go further deep dive into it.
Yeah, we hear from partners all the time, right? We're all, partners are head down trying to install customers, help customers, right? And reporting, if it's automated by AI, can save them time, but validates what's being done to that executive sponsor at the company. That's the game changer in the AI world, relating it back to partners, right? We all, they get in their bubble where there's a new customer, but then there's that critical customer that need that AI. That report on Friday, you can now use AI to schedule it, format it the way it needs to be, and it's coming from the OpenXDR platform. It is super easy, and it really saves them a lot of time and money.
Yeah. So moving along from that, how else can an AI in your SOC or just, in your business in general, let's dive deeper into how that can help grow your business. So I know, Raphael, you just touched on, being able to more quickly get reporting and that kind of thing across to stakeholders, but what else?
Well, I think you're seeing it on the sales and marketing side. So from a marketing perspective, AI can move quickly to generate digital images based on what's on your website. So again, you always want to be careful what you put there, but most of I've been watching a lot of AI. We had a couple of marketing companies that we work with. They're like, "What do you think about this?" I'm like, "It's scraping your website. That's public knowledge. If it can give you the right images and give it to you within milliseconds, that's awesome. Use it, right? Don't put proprietary information in there that you wouldn't have on your website." So I think AI is helping business teams in the marketing side, um, and even on the sales side, right? Being able to send emails or calls and leave voicemails so that they do call Liam back. Liam can't make 100 calls a day or an hour. AI could do it. He could even put his voice in there. So it is Liam. It's just AI leaving the voicemails, right? And then if someone does pick up, okay, the AI routes it to Liam. And Liam knows if I see that number come in, that means it's a live customer I need to pick up. So that's where you see a lot of AI taking off is sales and marketing. Um, but I don't know if Mike and Liam have anything, you know, any other areas on the business side?
No, it's literally is sales and marketing. We see it on our end as well. That we're even from our platform itself is even looking at onboarding with utilizing AI with onboarding into the security platform, right? Taking based on user previous usage of a product or platform, that if you onboard somebody new, it already has a tentative idea of how they're going to potentially use the platform, and it's already driving that rather than simple playbooks. So there's things that we're already seeing, even on you've got a new customer, brought them in, it's now onboarding is that next stage with AI to kind of incorporate that, because sometimes you don't have enough staff to bring on big large clients and have this dedicated white glove service. Now they want to start building in self-service, and AI is really starting to get involved in self-service around onboarding.
And I've seen it in marketing as well, and we do that to some extent. We use the data the knowledge we have of our clients with current vulnerabilities that are reported every day to put out client specific newsletters like, hey, these vulnerabilities did or didn't relate to you. But we're also using it to find gaps. So let's say we did vulnerability assessment of a client, but we're also monitoring that client. Is there any data that we collected from the vulnerability assessment that we don't have visibility on in the monitoring platform? Maybe there's a data source or something that wasn't in scope or didn't support a use case, but there's vulnerabilities there. So should we incorporate that? So there's that. And then lastly, we have a partner that kind of turned us onto this idea, integrating vulnerability management with patch management. So your vulnerability assessment results automatically get fed into your patch management system to determine, well, is that a vulnerability that can be addressed with a patch? It's an outdated software, or there's a bug fix available, and just automatically do it. So there's a couple of things there on the operations side, in addition to some of the things I've already mentioned with reporting. Our staffing model in our Fusion Center is really ticket driven. So as we reach ticket thresholds, we know when we need to add more staff. And our current staff being able to use AI has helped maintain that ticket level. It's slowed its growth, if you will. So it's helped us maintain, I think, what's now becoming a more appropriate staffing level on the back end. And then back on the reporting side, whether it's vulnerability assessment, our monthly or quarterly service reviews with our clients, we're able to present more enriched, meaningful data in a lot more quickly. It used to take us days or weeks in some cases, depending on how much data we're having to go through to produce these reports. And so AI has really helped there from an overhead perspective.
That's awesome. All right, we've got one more question here from the audience, and I think we've covered some of this, but they're asking how you quantify the AI features and the value they offer to your customers. And then I guess, so my last question was going to be, how do you, and you don't have to give me specific figures, but like, how are you pricing these features? And is that, is it per seat? Is it just a general, yeah.
I'll start real quick with
Okay.
the pricing. Really, AI has really just helped us become more efficient. So better
Okay.
margins, better opportunity, better capabilities. So I don't know that we're really incorporating the cost of AI into our model. And I've already forgotten the first question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think we covered a lot of it. The audience member was asking how you quantified the AI features and the value they offer to customers. So I think it's like, is there a way that you can measure how much value customers are getting from these AI tools and features?
Sure, and I've got kind of a funny, weird analogy there.
Ooh,
I've got
my
a lot of
favorite.
criminal justice background, and one of the things that constitutes the need for a warrant is whether or not your natural abilities have been enhanced some way. So, for example, if you're growing marijuana in your backyard and you've got an 8 foot privacy fence, that's not observable by normal human perception. I would have to stand on
Okay.
top of something to see the marijuana in your backyard. Well, that violated your right to privacy based on your fence, and I would
Okay.
have had to a warrant to do a, a cause search for your backyard. Similar with if I'm flying in a helicopter and I observe your marijuana with my normal eyesight, that's one thing. But if I'm using binoculars, I needed a warrant for that. Well, similar, I think
Okay.
that's what AI is doing for us. It's that enhancement to our normal intelligence, our normal perception, our normal analysis. It's allowing us to do more, and that's really the value that we're bringing to the table is. And it satisfies the client interest too. Like you guys are staying current, right? You're at the front, not necessarily the bleeding edge, but you're out there in front using AI and incorporating what you do. So you're able to do more. You're more efficient. You're not going to miss something. And so, I mentioned, we used to have to look at a million things a day, of which, some statistical, piece of that is what we actually get to. And then from that, here's what we're going to investigate. Well, now we can have AI chew on all that data and bring to us those things that we really need to focus on. And on focus, that's the other part from a Fusion Center SOC perspective is when you have all these different tools and you have all these different clients, different environments, it's very hard to focus. You've always got to switch gears and put your mind in that client environment, put your mind in that tool, put your mind in that situation. And now with AI, that's starting to normalize a lot of what we've got to focus on, and that's been very helpful. So from an efficiency, comprehensiveness, contextual, and accuracy perspective, I think that's kind of the message uh, we're talking about with how we use AI.
Beautiful.
We include it. We don't price it out. I think it's dangerous to price out AI or position it as a price increase, especially for
Mhm.
partners. We're seeing it this week with a lot of the larger companies sending emails to all of us that their product now has AI. So isn't that awesome? And you're going to pay $2 to $3 more per user. That's not what a customer wants to hear.
Hmm.
So I think if you have to normalize any AI costs in for your partners or your customers, you should do it on an annual basis, and it should just be part of your normal process of what your margin is versus MSRP from the provider versus, oh, look, we added AI and you may not have wanted it, and now we're going to upgrade you. It just it seems a
Mhm.
little disingenuous. I think it's more of a, hey, AI is another team member, so just include it in your costs behind the scene on the P&L and not penalize the partners or the customers. So for us, it's included. We don't price it out differently or anything else. And as I've said, we've been doing AI with machine learning and now artificial intelligence since 2018. And so that's how we look at it. Not saying it, and someone else's, product and how they're doing it is wrong. We're already hearing from partners and customers that they're not liking what they're seeing in the pricing models with a random increase tied to the word AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're seeing the same thing as well, where the value, quantifying the value is the risk reduction when you're incorporating AI, right? It's going to enhance their identification, but also remediation. And that's where we see the value. And Raphael brings up a good point. Cybersecurity is getting to a point where it's becoming too expensive for a lot of people, and they're turning their backs on security because it's becoming expensive. So it's kind of like the mantra: we got to do more for the people that kind of, that the 99% of people that can't afford it is where the majority of the tax and hacking happens. We need to make sure it becomes accessible to them. And AI is another way of generating additional revenue from people, but at the same time, it should be looked upon and incorporated into the platform. But at the same time, we look at it, going back to the question, the value is on risk reduction. And that's what we got to see is, if with helping AI, does it help them to get faster in risk reduction, which is what we want to see? And does it actually quantify by bringing the right information for them to have that risk reduction? And that's the value to me, for the value prop, even for the client, for the MSP, MSSP, but also their end clients to be able to see the value right away.
All right, guys. Well, that does it for my questions, and I think we've made it through all of the audience questions as well. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up here that you want to close with? Otherwise, we can.
I'll just add the best approach to addressing questions around AI, the use of AI, the governance of AI, what to look for in vendors and partners and tools with AI. Your best resources are people in the industry. So much like the three of us, I'm sure there are others that would be open and willing to just have conversations with you. So just don't hesitate to ask. Be cautious if you ask AI what the answer is. I asked AI to write me an AI governance policy the other day that would prohibit employees from using AI, and it incorporated on its own, without me asking, a provision for selecting, reviewing, and approving AI tools for use. So self-preservation apparently was baked into this one, but ask. If you don't ask the question, you're going to be left wondering and possibly making the wrong decision. So don't hesitate to ask. Reach out.
Yeah. And we're not at Skynet level yet, so I wouldn't worry about AI getting to that point. All right. So I think it's at a point where we need to embrace it, but also, as we said at the early, don't just turn it on. Just turn it on and think it's going to work. We need to do some investigation. We need to have that HI, but we need to embrace it. I think it's the next evolution of our work environment, whether it's with security or even outside of cybersecurity. It's going to be a part of our everyday life.
Raphael,
Yeah,
I think you
I
get
think
to have this
there's
full shebang.
yeah, there's no need to have fear. I just educate, ask questions, and where you see AI, I think the $1 million question is, where's the data going? That's really that's the fundamental question of all of this, and that can help you in your decision making process. So, but thanks for having us today, Sharon.
Hey, you
Yes, thank
bet.
you.
Thank you, all of you in the audience. Thanks to you three for taking time to chat about this with me. And cool. Once again, just a reminder, this has been recorded. So if you missed it, want to go back and make sure that you can grow marijuana plants in your backyard. You can't see over your fence. You'll be able to do so. Or any of the other great information that we talked about here in our webcast today. And please, we hope to see you again at another MSSP Alert webcast coming up soon. Once again, I am Sharon Florentine, signing off. Thanks so much.
Bye, everybody.